Awesome. Make sure this is roll.
All right, we're here December 9th, having a post-observation conference. I watched Dylan's class yesterday, and so Dylan, here is a copy of my notes from your lesson. And before you read it, maybe you could tell me how you thought the lesson went.
I thought it went decently. I thought I maybe rushed through a little bit of it at the end as far as domain and range goes, but I think overall it was a decent lesson. A little bit to improve on, slow down a little bit at the end, but maybe a little bit too much free time at the end as well, unconstructed free time. But that's probably it.
Okay. And do you feel like the majority of students understood the lesson?
Yes, I feel like right about probably 50 to 60% at least understood the lesson. The other 40%, well, maybe less than, probably more like 80% in this class. The other 20% are habitual phone users, and just no matter how much I ask them to, they won't pay attention. So, but yeah.
We have that. Everyone, it's ubiquitous. We all have that problem. In particular, I noticed the young man with the Oakley hat who sits right there.
Yep, Chris.
He's fun.
Yeah.
So fun. I subbed for you the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the only kid who really kind of gave me a hard time.
Yep.
I had to go talk, but I talked to him personally, and
Mm-hmm.
then he straightened up the rest of the day.
Good.
But yeah, I can see he's a challenge.
Yeah. Yep. There are a few students in that class that choose not to, but at the end of the day, I can't make them do work,
You can't. How do you handle tardies? I noticed that within the scope of the class, like you had 6 people at various times coming in. That's quite a high number.
Yeah. So it's first period. I try not to make a big deal of it, but I do ask them, try to be the class on time, but. And I know a few of them are just out in the quad or whatever, waiting until the bell rings to come. But I try not to make assumptions. I feel like sometimes it's parents taking them in late, but every other period I try to make it a point of, hey, you got to be the class on time, especially since you're here.
First period is rough, and you're right. They are at the mercy of the bus or their parents. Have you ever thought about having some positive incentive, like maybe some extra credit? Hey, if you're here on time, that way it doesn't hurt anybody, but it makes them want to come in and not be out in the quad.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's definitely worth using. Or maybe I could include the warm-up and just collect the warm-up and use that as the extra credit. That might
maybe motivate them a little bit. But it's a challenge for all of us, for sure. Yeah. I noticed one student was sleeping.
Which one?
He was sitting right here, I think. He was at this table, one of these 2 seats. He had a hoodie on.
I think he was on his phone. He puts his head down.
Oh, I thought he was actually sleeping.
Yeah, right? He doesn't come up the whole period. He just sits on his phone the whole period.
And, at this point in the semester, it's kind of like, why poke the bear, because poking him and saying, hey, put away your phone or keep your head up could lead to him causing trouble throughout the class. But on the other hand, what are some solutions? Like maybe call home or?
I feel like, I got to say something. And that's why as I go by, hey, Chris, get something out, get working. Yeah. But if he was asleep, I usually let the student sleep just because there might be something going on at home that I'm not aware of. But if it's like a habitual thing, like that's when it's, I probably make a call home.
Yeah, in my many, many years here though, I once had a student who put his head down, and it bothered me that he put his head down, so I went to shake him. He wouldn't wake up, and it turned out he was ODing.
What?
So I wanted to share that with you.
Wow.
Why, when a kid appears to be sleeping, and I get it, because I have habitual sleepers too, because they're seniors and they work all night, but sometimes it's really good to just check in, make sure the student's okay.
That makes sense.
And then you can always go, okay, I know they're fine, they're just going to sleep. or
Yeah.
send them to the health office. Just a thought. The
That's a good
longer you're
thought.
here, the more weird things will happen.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad you shared that. I'll definitely check in every time a student's like putting his head or her head down from now on out.
Just to be careful on that. But one thing I noticed from the Zoom lesson last year that I observed, and it's a different format now, obviously we're live, but you had a lot more compliments for students in the Zoom lesson.
Yes.
But I also understood like it would be hard to compliment some of the stuff going on. I mean, you would have to really stretch, but I think it would help if there was more praise coming out.
I agree with that. That's very useful as well.
But that's a tough class you had, so.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I feel like there's only a couple of kids participating. It's hard to continue, like, you know, but I think that would be very useful moving forward.
Well, those are my suggestions. I want to talk about now the things I thought you did marvelously.
Well, thank you.
Because overall, fantastic lesson. I've told you before, if you had been my math teacher, maybe I would have grown up to be an engineer or something. Instead, I grew up to be an English teacher because my math skills are awful. And I really think that since I got A's in every other subject, maybe it was possibly the teachers I had. One year I had a teacher whose accent was so heavy, I just really couldn't understand him. Yeah. And other times, like, they would just do the lesson one time on the board and go sit down the rest of the period. How do you learn? Yep. You're not like, you are amazing.
Thank you.
And this smart board is awesome. The way you use that in the classroom, fantastic.
Thank you.
I like the yardstick too.
Yes, yeah. That's one of my favorites.
I love how your focus is getting every student going in the morning instead of taking roll. And I know you've got to be like, hey, don't forget to take roll, because most of us start our morning that way. But I really like that, because if you're taking roll, then they're doing whatever, but you're on it. So that was really great. And I also noticed that in between times, the kids were so comfortable chit-chatting with you. So I can see that rapport.
Thank you. Yeah, I work very hard on that, trying to establish relationships and build them throughout the year. I'm hoping to build better relationships with some of my more difficult students a little better, but other than that, thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, well deserved. And the way you speak, I spoke of the teacher who had the heavy accent, but your speaking is so clear. You use words that are accessible to the students. You scaffold the lesson, so you hopefully are picking up everybody along the way. You've got your ELL aide in the classroom. That's got to be a challenge.
She does so well. I'm very thankful for Miss R. Oh my goodness, she's almost like a teacher in and of herself. She's awesome.
Yeah, I was listening to her. I could pick up a little bit of it, and that was amazing. But having that population in here and trying to teach the whole bunch, kudos to you for doing that. Also, you are appropriately repetitive. Like, you hit points, like I could see you were repeating it because you kind of knew, like, I think they didn't hear that. So I really appreciated that. And just the way you paced the lesson in general, very good pacing.
Thank you.
So that's it for my suggestions and my accolades. Did you have any comments or questions for me?
Thanks for stopping by, and thank you for the suggestions. I'm always so eager to hear what other teachers will have to say and their suggestions. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. Always happy to do that. And it's wonderful to do this kind of observation where it's really all positive, So you're like an experienced, multi-decade experienced teacher.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. All right.
Well, I'll go ahead and turn this off.